Hey everybody, it's Travis. I'm going to talk real briefly on what I feel is the most important three things to teach at the very beginning. Now, I'm kind of really behind on my puppy training videos and just puppy training in general because I recently moved back from Kentucky to Missouri, and I've just been trying to catch up with friends and family, trying to get everything settled in, trying to get the puppies and the dogs acclimated and everything, and then the winter's hitting, so it's just chain of events that kind of pushed me back, and I'm going to try to rush through these as fast as possible without jeopardizing the integrity of training for you guys. But usually the first three things I teach my puppies is crate training, the place command, and to bark on command. Now this is outside of the imprinting, such as the nose down behaviors, marker training, things like that. These are the first three things I actually physically work on in my training program. Now, the crate training, I talked in depth in a previous video, but the next step that I like to use is the place command. The place cot is an extension of the crate. Now, I was recently talking to somebody about how if you lock a puppy or a dog in a crate for hours a day, people will look at you like you are scum of the earth. They will judge you heavily for that because that's cruel. They don't understand that, dogs are often, they're a den animal, and oftentimes they just feel comfortable in crates sometimes. But if you put them on a place command and they run to the cot and lay down and leave them there for hours, they think that's just a well-trained dog. But, if you think about it, they're the exact same thing. I teach my puppies and my dogs to go to the place command. They're not allowed to leave that place command until I release them. So they will stay there for hours if I leave them there for hours. So that's another reason I teach my puppies that this is the first thing that you need to do is this place command. So whenever I'm away, I'll put them in the crate. When I'm home, if I'm not actively watching them and we're beyond the tie out, where I'm tying them to my belt, I'll put them in the place command. And then once they learn that they can't move, they will hold it. And I'll check in with them. If I'm washing dishes, when I get done with dishes, I'll say, you need to go potty. Take them outside, let them potty. Come back in, place them, go, do laundry. Come back, check with them. Because they will not eliminate where they sleep or eat. So if they're constantly on the cot, you're just expanding that housebreaking. And you can move that cot to wherever, say if you're in one room, bring that cot in, tell them to place. And you've seen that in a previous video with Oliver. So, in my view, the place command in home is the exact same thing as crating your dog, but with more obedience. And the third thing I like to train is the barking. Because honestly, when you're constantly crating a dog or you're doing housework and puppies, they love to bark. So that's the most annoying thing in the world, is constantly hearing barking. I've been suffering it, for the last week or so. Whenever I crate them at night, and about every hour on the hour, all through the night, they just start barking nonstop. Well, a lot of people will tell their dogs to quiet, and they start correcting these dogs to stop barking. Well, you're taking your voice, and for a working dog, you're taking the voice away from them, and then later on when you try to teach them that bark and hold or the bark on command, they're going to be really apprehensive because they're saying, you've told me my entire life not to bark. So I like to put it on command in the beginning. Now, anybody that knows, whenever you're doing behavior modification or behavior management, you usually like to teach the wanted behavior first. And sometimes, if it's an unwanted behavior, you have to teach that first so you can put the wanted behavior on command, such as barking. So I like to start them when they're about 7.5 weeks or 8 weeks old, because they bark all the time. All you have to do is put them in a little fence or tie them back and just walk around, and they will bark incessantly at you, all constantly. Every time they bark, you just mark and reward, mark and reward. And then after a while, you can say bark or speak or revere or whatever you want to say. And when you put it on cue and they bark, you mark and reward. And eventually you put it on cue where you can say bark and they bark. Well, now that they've learned that behavior, and you can proof this, I like to do this when I feed at night. I'll set the dog food bowl down, I'll put them in a sit, I'll tell them to speak, they speak, and then I mark and I release them into their food. Now, whenever you're doing something and you say speak, bark, revere, geblaut, whatever your command abla is to make them bark, once they're doing that on command, then you can add the quiet command. They're barking, speak, woof, quiet. They're going to say, what does that mean? And as soon as they get quiet, you mark and reward. Speak, woof, quiet. Mark, reward. And then now, through repetition, just like any other obedience command, whenever they're barking at night or something, you can say quiet, and they know what that is, and then you can start that proofing phase. So the first three things all tend to tie together. If a puppy's in a crate barking, a lot of people will use that. They're barking and you can reward through the crate. I prefer not to do that unless absolutely needed, because then you're teaching the puppy to bark in the crate, and it kind of just becomes redundant at that point, because now you're in bed and they're barking because they want your attention and they want those rewards. But if need be, you can always revert to that. But they all tie together: barking, cots, and the crates. So wrap your mind around that for a little bit. I'm going to keep working the dogs. I'm going to see if I can get them to bark. They're at that age now they kind of skip that easy bark phase. I'm going to really have to work to get them to bark. But hopefully with trial and error, you'll get to see me get some dogs to bark on command. So tune in and just keep watching.